and welcome to the Dublin Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, as always, Jonathan Giles. On this special Christmas week podcast, we'll be reviewing last night's disappointing 2-0 home loss to David Moyes' new Westham side. So sit back and enjoy the show. On the show today, I'm joined by my regular guest at this stage from Dublin, Matt Bourne. How are you, Matt?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good
are you
stuff.
having a nice Christmas so far?
It was fabulous. Yeah, it was very, very good. Very good. Yeah, it's not over yet, Jonathan. It's still going on.
As they say.
We got a few more days of it.
I hope all our viewers and listeners are having a great Christmas as well, as we come to the end of 2023, which is mad. I'm also joined by Eric Shadowins from the US. It's been a while, Eric. How are you?
Yep, good to be back. But, I got my Irish citizenship in the meantime, so I'm more legitimate.
Congrats.
On
Very
this
good.
Congrats, Eric. You're one of us now. He's wearing the green spelling today, so he's going on there. No, it's great to have you back on, Eric. I hope you're keeping well, and I hope you're having a good Christmas back at home.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks.
No, we hope to have you on before next year. I can't remember the last time you came on, but it's great to have you on.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
On the show, as I said, we'll be reviewing last night's game against West Ham, a disappointing 2-0 home loss. Goals by Souček and our ex-gunner defender Mavropanis got the second goal with a bullet header from a corner. The main notes I wrote down here, that's really the Jarrett Bowen keeping the ball in. Was it in or was it out of play? I think VAR got it wrong. I think his whole foot was over the line along with the ball. Once again, VAR came into play and couldn't decide, wrong decision again. And Thomas Souček tapped it home. For their second goal, it was pretty poor marking, I thought, from the corner. Gabriel Jesus probably should have been a bit closer or even tighter to Mavropanis, but in fairness to him, he took his header really well from the corner and he buried it. I don't think Ray really stood a chance. I thought Bukayo Saka had a really good match last night against Emerson, the West Ham fullback. I thought he terrorised them all night long with Agbana, stripped him for pace and had a few decent chances in the first half, especially the header that Alfonso Areola, the West Ham keeper, made to tip it over the bar. He had a very good night, actually. Areola, I thought he kept him in the game, and we had 30 shots in total. I was looking back on the highlights reel from the Arsenal website, which is, it's an amazing amount of shots to have and not score one. Declan Rice had a good chance in the second half, where he hit a shot from outside the box and it just went over the bar, unfortunately. And Areola tipped a good shot from Martin Odegaard when it was at 2-0. If that had gone in, it could have been an exciting injury time period. And then the tackle from Declan Rice inside the box at the very end. But Benrahma's penalty was really well saved by David Raya. An unfortunate 2-0 loss, sadly, after the good 1-0 draw we had against Liverpool at the weekend. Still leaves the second, though, just 2 points behind Liverpool. Spurs dropped points as well. And that leads us into Sunday's game, the 31st of December, the away game at Fulham at 2 o'clock, which will be another tough London derby. But since it's your first appearance in quite a while, Eric, what did you make of the match last night?
Yeah, I think obviously the moments are what make this match. The two goals are disappointing. I think we can say whatever we want about VAR, but realistically, do I think that ball was probably up? Yeah, probably, but I couldn't tell you 100%. I think the biggest problem is just more, how is the richest league in the world not having some sort of goal line technology extended across the line? 2 feet away inside the goal, they all of a sudden can tell. But then on the other side of the post, they're like, oh, we have no idea. And you're just like, well, clearly you have the technology to do it. It's just about employing it. And so to me, like, I'm not too beat up about whether or not it was in or out. It's a situation we should have dealt with better, quite frankly.
Yeah.
There was a lot of kind of just poor communication in the box, and the fact that Zinchenko naturally, of course, comes back to help clear the ball, and then Gabriel just turns and kicks it at him. Is obviously like not a great look. But actually, to just talk about that goal for a second, I think once the ball goes in the box, anything can kind of happen. You can have little ricochets, little mistakes, and things happen, and the ball goes in. To me, the biggest problem with that goal is if you actually take it all the way back to when the through ball is played down the wing. What you'll see is like Ben White steps and presses. And at the point that he does that, he has to stop the ball from going forward. He's got to force it back or force it square. He gets turned instead. And then from there, it's kind of, they have a great chance, and I think that was actually the most disappointing part about that whole goal to me, is that he had him basically his back to goal, and the guy turns him and is able to play him in. And I think that's like a key part of the way that Arsenal plays, is that we step and we press, but when we do that, you can't get turned there. Because there's nobody behind him. And so I just think in general, that was kind of the moment that made that goal, really, because from there, I mean, he's got a free cross, and there's 2 or 3 guys in the box, and, we didn't deal with it well, but it's a situation we could have stopped from developing in the first place. And I was a bit disappointed in the way that developed. That said, I mean, look, as you said, we had 30 shots. Like, Arsenal should have scored a goal.
Yeah.
At least one, if not more. West Ham did a good job of sitting super deep, forcing a lot of shots from outside the box and things like that, which is the strategy once you go 1-0 up at the Emirates, right? And the corners happen. They're not. We can say whatever we want about the marking, but probably 9 or even like 9.99 times out of 10, that ball goes over the bar or whatever else. So I just think that it's a tough day to give up 2 shots and 2 goals and really nothing else. They didn't create anything really. And if you just look at Arsenal's domination of the ball, the chances we did create, like, at the end of the day, we have to figure out a way to start scoring. And if you score 0 goals, you're not gonna win the match. So I think from where I was kind of looking at the game, I thought that some of the combination play seems to have gone out of what we're doing, especially along the wings. Where there's a lot of recycling of the ball back instead of kind of trying to take a bit higher risk passes on. Or in certain cases, like I thought Saka or Martinelli could have run at guys more. But that's nitpicking in a game that you have 30 shots, right? And some of those were big chances. Saka hits the post. Saka had that header, and as you mentioned, I thought their keeper played really well. Made 2 or 3 really good saves. And sometimes days like that happen. I think the important point here is we're 2 points off top. We're right in the mix for the title. We are playing dominating football that really restricts the amount of chances that the other team creates. But the next step is we have to start scoring 2, 3, 4 goals in games, because without that, we have to score enough goals. That's how you win the league. And so to me, I think we've set a base of really, really dominating style of play, but from there, it needs to start turning into more goals, and that needs to be the next step for the team if we want to go on and start winning some trophies.
Yeah, what did you make of Emile Smith-Rowe coming off the bench? He looked fairly lively, Eric, didn't he? Do you think?
Yeah, I thought Trossard had a bad game. I thought he was had a lot of loose touches and things like that, and I wasn't a fan of the corners he was taking, mostly because they never beat the first man. Now I know Arsenal was clearly attacking the near post, but I thought there could have been a bit more quality there. I was surprised Smith Rowe didn't come on sooner, just for a bit more pace running through. But it's good to have him back, and if we can see more from him and start to get some real goals out of him, that would be a massive bonus to this team. But he came on in the 70th, 75th minute, 2-0 down, and you're only going to be able to do so much with that. I thought the bigger issue was in those first kind of 60 minutes before we made subs like Nelson and Nketiah, that Martinelli was just struggling to get into good positions. They're obviously doubling him up on the wing. But if our main sub is Reece Nelson, he didn't do a ton else either. Which just shows you where we need to make sure that we start to get Martinelli ticking, because if he continues to have a season like this without the production, like, we're just not going to go where we want to go. He's doing a lot of good things. He works extremely hard, all of that stuff, but trying to find some goals out of him is going to be really important.
Yeah, 100%, Eric. Yeah, I thought coming to yourself, Matt, I thought we're really reliant on Bukayo Saka to produce magic game on game, and I think we're heavily relying on him, but not having really a proper number 9 to score out and out goals game by game. There was a couple of instances, Matt. Obviously, the Jared Bowen one was, it was 50-50, but I believe it was over the line. But there's a couple of penalty instances as well. One on Odegaard in the first half, and one on Saka that both may have been given, but Michael Oliver never gives us anything, let's be honest. What did you make of the game yourself, Matt?
I mean, listen, Eric, basically said everything I wanted to say, because we all, there's nothing nice to talk about really after a bad defeat like that. You got to be beating teams like West Ham to win a title, but there's a lot of the way the Premier League is going this season. All the top clubs are dropping points. There's nobody running away with it. We are only 2 points off the top. Yes, we want to be top, but if you're in the mix at Christmas, you're in a good enough state. I think we're 10 points worse off than we were last season at this stage. But everybody's dropped points. Everybody's dropped points all over the place. So we can't be too down about it. I know it's very hard the day after a game like this. Everybody's frustrated, obviously. But listen, I still think we're in the mix. I still think it's going to be very, very close this season. Nobody's running away with it. I still believe 85, maybe 90 points is going to win the title. And that's just the way it's set up this year. It's much more competitive. A lot of the teams around the middle of the table are getting some good results. Some of the big teams are falling away. Chelsea have fallen away completely. United have fallen away. But United have lost 8 games this season, and they're still only maybe 8-9 points off the top. So it is a very strange season. I suppose in relation to the game last night, Eric made the point. His first point was in relation to VAR, about the technology, and I've always said that football needs something like VAR, but there's no point in having VAR if you don't have the technology to back it up. And this is what's happening week in, week out. They're guessing. They're making guesses. Their best guess is the ball wasn't out of play. Well, it might have been out of play. There's two things there. They're saying it's not conclusively out. Well, it's not conclusively in either. So they need to have that technology. They need to have them cameras in place. They can't be guessing, and they can't be 3 or 4 guys in the studio talking back and forward about, well, what do you think? Well, I think this and I think that. It's just not good enough for VAR. It just isn't, and it happens week in, week out. Not only to us, it happens to everybody. But my own opinion, the ball looked out. Sky's cameras, they zoomed right in and the whole lot. I mean, like if VAR had have seen what Sky did there even at half time, you know, they might have went, oh, Jesus, the ball is out then. Why didn't VAR have that technology? Just even that much to see, you know? You can see the whole goalpost. His legs behind the goalpost and you can't see the ball.
Yeah.
So that's out of play, you know?
Yeah.
But look, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. You can't lose to West Ham. You can't have 30 chances in a game and still lose a game against a team that's had 3 chances. We had, you know, I think 75% possession. We had, like you say, 30 shots. We had everything, you know. I actually saw a post on Twitter there a few minutes ago, and it says we were world class going forward and no class at the box. You know, it was just an incredibly frustrating night overall. Plus, I was playing a poker tournament and didn't win that either. So that didn't help me.
Double whammy.
Yeah. What have I got?
Probably had a better chance of scoring the 180 than Arsenal had hitting the back of the net last night, Matt.
Yeah, well, that's darts. That's not poker. But I think Martinelli has been off for weeks. I don't know what it is, and I've spoken about it.
He's tired, Matt. Do you think there's so much importance on him and Saka either side?
Well, yeah, there is, but you know, that's, you know, the point is I don't know what it is about him. He does brilliant things on the pitch. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. He does fantastic things on the pitch. Yeah. He cuts in beautifully. He does all the right things, and then when it comes to the final ball or making the decision, his decision making is terrible. You know, he'll hang on to it and hang on to it and hang on to it and lose it instead of, you know, trying to pick out a player or trying to let it back, or, you know, he's always trying to do too much. You know, he wants to be Ronaldo. He wants to be that kind of. He wants to do everything, and he may get there. He may get there one day, but he's not there yet. He's not there yet at all, and he needs to improve that side of his game. He can't expect to be in the side week in, week out if he's not doing that. I love him. He's a brilliant, brilliant player, and I want success for every Arsenal player that puts on that jersey.
Yeah,
but he's just not doing it at the moment, and I think we're suffering from it. I think that was probably Declan Rice's worst game for us last night. Look, we did play good football, but I think at times Rice, I don't know if it was maybe playing against his old club that he was feeling a bit emotional or whatever, but he made a couple of mistakes as well. Look, if that's his worst game, then, you know, it just shows you how good his other games are, you know, because he's been
a 9 out of 10, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah. And most of the, you know, we have 4 or 5 players in that team, 6 players maybe, who are 8 or 9 out of 10 every week in, week out. But you have to adapt your game to the matches. You can't play beautiful flowing football and not get the end product against every team. You can do it against some teams and you'll score 4 or 5 goals. But when West Ham set up the way they did last night to frustrate the shit out of us, which they did, you know, no matter what we tried to do, they frustrated us. They threw 3 men on Saka, and every time Odegaard got the ball near the box, he had 4 or 5 around him, and he's trying to get around them and everything else, you know. So a very, very frustrating night. I suppose for me, I think, you know, if you could call a man of the match for us, I suppose Odegaard for me was man of the match. I thought he played very well. He tried. He was going in for everything. He really, really tried. But Smith Rowe, when he came on, I thought it was a fabulous cameo. You know, under the circumstances, he didn't have a lot of time to play, but he looked dangerous. You know, when he got the ball, he looked like he could do something with it. He pulled it. He late on now. He pulled the ball out of the air and did a fabulous trap it, or he trapped the ball beautifully.
Yeah.
Got a couple of players. Yeah. You know, so, you know, if Martinelli's not shown up too much, I know Trossard hasn't been fantastic for the last while either. Again, that could be down to not getting game time too. You know, he did come in. He was hoping to fit into the squad very well, but I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with a game like that. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't be too down, or shouldn't be too disappointed. We're still there. We're still in the mix. We're still going to be fighting for this title, and it's a hard title to win. There hasn't been a lot of Premier League winners in the 30 odd years of the Premier League. There hasn't been a lot of Premier League winners. It's a hard competition to win. Personally, I think we're better set up for the Champions League this year. I believe we have a very good shot at the Champions League. Obviously, we've got to get past Porto first and go on from there. But I think we're very nicely set up to really compete in the Champions League. And if we can keep in the mix in the Premier League, who knows?
I think it'd be a big January transfer window as well.
Yeah, it could be, but it depends what we can do.
I do believe, Matt and Eric, I do believe we need a number 9. I do think we need an out-and-out goal scorer. If we really want to be series title contenders year in, year out, I don't think Gabriel Jesus is that man. He just doesn't do. He's a great player. His work rate is great off the ball, but he's just not an Ian Wright or Thierry Henry, where he can get you 20 plus goals. Do you believe, Eric, if we did get to sign of Ivan Toney off Brentford, do you think that would be the answer to getting 15, 20 goals a season?
No. I mean, realistically, I look, Tony's a good player, and no doubt, like he's big, athletic.
Yeah.
He's a good player, but if I look at this team, and if you look at other teams, it doesn't have to be a number 9 that scores goals. I mean, look at Liverpool. Mohamed Salah's, they're banging in 30 goals a year from the wing, and so it doesn't really matter where the goals come from. But I look at the team as currently constructed, and we didn't even mention in this whole podcast so far that Havertz didn't play, and that was probably
I think he was actually a big loss last night.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at is I think he was a big miss there, because I think he would have given us a bit more possession and a bit more at the back post, and just some little things I think would have really helped, especially considering I think Trossard just kind of struggled yesterday to find his way into the game, and when he did, he just seemed to take some big touches that lost the ball. But I think that if you look at it, we also have Havertz and Trossard who can play at number 9 and have been decent there in the past. To me, I think what's really missing from the team right now is pace. We have Martinelli, and that's about it. I mean, Saka's fast, but having a player in the style of a Neto from Wolves or something like that, I think would be a big addition to the team going forward and give us something to bring on late. Because I think one of the things to also mention is, like, when we bring people off the bench right now, I mean, who are we bringing on? I mean, Nelson is probably the quickest player that we have on the bench, and he hasn't really played, I think,
I don't think he's
for reasons that
I don't think he's
so to me, I would be looking at how can you add a player
quality
that can sort of play across the front line, who has a lot of pace, who can spell Saka for bits, spell Martinelli for bits, maybe he can go up front for bits. I mean, even look at a guy like Jared Bowen for West Ham, and he provides that threat and that pace. And he's playing like center forward, even though he's a right winger, but just having that little bit of pace, I think would make a big difference to the team. So if I was looking at a forward, I'd probably be looking for that rather than kind of a big center forward type. I also think, Jesus missed some chances for sure, but he just does a lot to open up play, to create space for guys like Saka to run into. And so, I'm not as down on Jesus as some other people, I guess is what I would say. And I have a feeling that when this season is kind of complete, that there's a good chance Jesus is our top scorer. And so I wouldn't be too focused on that is kind of what I'm getting at. I think the real question, as Matt alluded to, is what money do we have to spend? What can we even do? I mean, we're obviously tied up against it with FFP. I mean, we spent $100 million on Declan Rice over the summer. On the books. I think one of the big questions is what they're going to do for sales. Because at the end of the day, I know people love Ramsdale, people have questions about Raya, all the rest, but having one of those two as your backup goalkeeper seems to me to be a waste of resources. Realistically, we all expect, outside of maybe the FA Cup, Raya to play every game for the rest of the season. And goalkeeper isn't the biggest injury risk as, a lot of the outfield positions. And so to me, I would be looking very seriously at like who actually is open to buying some of our guys that just aren't getting the playing time. I mean, Eddie came on. I didn't think Eddie was bad, but if we have cover at center forward with guys like Trossard and Havertz, is that another waste of resources where we could use that money to strengthen in another position? And if we're bringing in a forward, whether that be on the wing or center forward, then all of a sudden guys like Reece Nelson and Eddie are getting even less playing time. So I think realistically, if we're going to buy and if we're going to strengthen, it's going to be at the expense of some guys going out. And that's just kind of is what it is, as much as I'm a big fan of Aaron Ramsdale and these academy guys. It's just, that's the nature of if you want to win a title, you have to go and get the absolute best. And I just don't see how we do that without sales. So we'll see. I don't know. Obviously I don't have access to the books and know what conversations are happening at the club. But I think realistically, to me, as I look at like guys like Nelson and Eddie, who we give new contracts to, a guy like Ramsdale, these guys are not playing very much. And that's a lot of resources to have not playing. Yeah. And it's just about how do you allocate those resources. And to me, it would make a lot of sense to look at what can you get for those and what can you turn that into. And so that's probably where I'd be looking.
Yeah, I have to say, in terms of transfers, I thought West Ham really spent £110 million they got for Declan Rice really well in terms of Ward-Prowse, Kudus and Alvarez. I thought all three of them last night played a big part in West Ham, and even Mavropanos played really well beside Akbana. I think like West Ham are sixth. I think they're on 33 points. What Moyes has done with that team, they could have went into self-destruct mode, losing a big name like Declan Rice, but they've seemed to have come back stronger. And, I think the last time we lost against them, myself and Eamon were on the Christmas Eve podcast, and it was when Czech had that howler of a debut when we lost 2-0 to them. Kouyaté got one from a corner, I think Lanzini got one. I think that was the last time they batted us at the Emirates. But look, hats off to what West Ham came with a game plan. They executed it to frustrate us with the low press, etc. But I thought with 30 attempts, you need to be putting away the likes of West Ham when teams like, when your opposition around you in the title race drop points, we seem to drop points on that weekend as well, which is just infuriating. But we move on to Fulham now. On the 34th, the last game of the year, which, to be honest, 2023 has been a really good year for Arsenal fans. We've seen Arteta turn it around. His first, I think he was 4 years there in charge. On Boxing Day, just gone. We drew 2-2 there in August. Eddie got a nice finish there as well. We come up against our old foe in Bernd Leno, who could have a screamer, and hopefully he leaves the ball boy alone like he had at the weekend. But Willian is having a decent enough season, another ex-Gooner. Fulham can be very frustrating. I know we won 3-0, I think it was back in March, when it really looked like the title was really on. I thought that performance, we absolutely destroyed them at Craven Cottage. But they're on a decent run of form themselves under Marco Silva. I'll come to you, Matt. Always a difficult game at Craven Cottage, one of those kind of old school grounds where the fans are on top of you and they can make the first goal. I think will be a big one in this game. How do you see it going yourself?
Yeah, look, like last night, I didn't see anything else than a win. But unfortunately, what happened. Like we could go to, if we play the same way as we played last night, we could score 5 past Fulham. It just depends on, it just depends on what happens. If we could have 30 shots against Fulham, perfectly happy as long as a couple of them go in. So it's just the way it is. Yes, they're a tricky side. For some reason, Willian has decided to become a footballer all of a sudden for Fulham. They've obviously got Alex Iwobi there as well, and Leno. So there's quite an Arsenal connection. But listen, I can't see anything other than a win away to Fulham. I think the lads will be fairly pissed off about last night, and Arteta will be riling them up during the week and getting them ready for it properly. And I cannot see anything other than a win against Fulham. We have to. It's the only way we can move forward. It's the only way we can fight for this title is to go to places like Craven Cottage and get results. If you can't beat West Ham at home, well, go out next week and show people what you can do. Show people how you can play, and put the ball away. It's not going to be an easy game by any means, but I certainly see us winning.
Yeah, I think with a quick turnaround, Eric, from the West Ham loss, I think this is the best way of putting a correction on last night. How do you see the game going at Craven Cottage yourself?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a game that we need to go and win. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. We want to win the title. We got to go win. Yeah. But I think one of the interesting things too is if you look back at the home results in the other major disappointing home result is the 2-2 draw with Fulham earlier in the season. Yeah. And it's another game where we kind of battered them, and then we somehow ended up with a draw. Foresee it going any different. It's just that this time we need to make sure that, we take the fine margins out of it and go score a bunch of goals and win the game. And, that's easier said than done in the Premier League. Like, as we were mentioning, the top kind of 10 to 12 teams are probably all better than last year. And it's a tough league, and these away games in particular are going to always be, kind of gripping stuff, we'll say, in terms of like, anything could happen. Each team is always going to get a couple chances, and it's about execution, and it's about making sure that if you're dominating play, that you're taking advantage of those positions. I think Havertz coming back in the game will help.
It's massive.
I think he's been clearly improved over the last 5 to 6 games. He adds a lot to the threat we provide kind of at the back post. And I think yesterday, if you looked at a lot of the positions we got to, we weren't crossing the ball really to the back post. Yeah. Saka and Odegaard had a number of chances to do it and chose not to. I think that might have been different if Havertz was standing there. So I think look, it's a game where we have the talent to go win. And it's just about doing it. And I think from there, it's making sure that we don't make silly mistakes. I think that if you look at the games that outside of probably the Villa game where we again could have scored a bunch of goals, the goals we've been giving up that have cost us points have been just like bad mistakes, and it's not like anybody's cutting us open this year. Like our formation, our tactics are limiting every single team we play to very few chances.
Yeah,
like we played the best attack maybe in world football in Liverpool, and they didn't even create 1 XG. I think that tells you a lot about what we're doing this year. It's just a matter of we have to turn that dominance into real goals, and I think that's all it comes down to. So to me, we should go and win this. Havertz should be a plus. It'll be interesting to see if he does anything different, with other players coming in. Obviously, with the short turnaround, you could see Smith Rowe getting maybe some more time potentially. But we'll see. Obviously, we don't know what the medical reports are in terms of are there any knocks or anything else going on. So let's see. I'm pretty hopeful though that we're going to go do the business on Sunday.
Yeah, anytime we have had a loss, we've come back stronger. We've gone on a winning run of form of 3 or 4 games. You know, and I suppose as well, lads. As well, when you think about December, it's always the worst month on the calendar for fixtures. We've played 7 games in a very short space of time with basically the same 11 players playing, you know, week in, week out. You know, the rotation is quite small, you know, from Arteta. And I think we saw last night for a few of them in particular, Martinelli looked tired, you know, and just looking at the players' faces, they look kind of drained, you know, and it's important to end 2023 on a high to go into the next game because we don't play. I think after this Fulham game, the next game will be the 20th of January against Palace. So, you know, there's a bit of a wait for the next Premier League game after this one. And it's the FA Cup game against Liverpool, which, to be honest, I'm not really too worried about the FA Cup. If we can finish strongly in the Champions League, as Matt and Eric has said, there's a good chance of winning the Champions League than the Premier League. But I always think the Premier League is, you know, it's that trophy that you want to win. You know, there's just something about the Premier, especially after waiting 20 years. I never thought I'd be touch wood 40 next year, and I can't believe it was 20 when we last won it. But I know my liver can't hold out for another 20. So it's vital Arteta gets this right this season. No, it's been a very good. It's been a very good 2023. I'd like to finish the show in the last few minutes. Starting with you, Eric. What was your standout moment of 2023 for Arsenal?
If it's a moment, it has to be the Nelson goal, right? I mean, against Bournemouth. Like that is the moment. So I think that's it. But if we're talking this season, you know, look, this team beat Manchester City in the league. And that is a massive, massive moment for the club. Yeah. And it's a show of intent. And I think that that shouldn't be lost in the context of like, oh yeah, we had a disappointing result here. But look, we've gone up against the best teams and we've looked like one of the best teams. And that is a really important thing for everybody to just keep perspective on, is that we're right there. We have the teams, the tactics, and everything else to go and compete. And I think that Manchester City win is a really important one that we keep in context.
Yeah, that's a great point made. Yes, I remember Peter Shorty, the Sky Sports commentator, saying that it's a massive statement of intent to beat Man City, and to we won against them in the Community Shield. People say it's a nothing match, but I think that put down a marker for the start of the season we had. I hate putting you on the spot again, Eric. Your favourite goal of 2023 this season or last season, would it be Reiss Nelson again, or is there another goal that comes to mind?
Well, I won't take the Nelson one because I know Matt was there, but so I was just jumping around a bar during that one as opposed to in the stadium. But I think, but I think going back, I think that the Martinelli goal to me is my moment. It's the big goal, because it's just sort of like validation of what Arsenal is doing and the way that we are progressing. You know, we might not win the league this year, but we have shown that we're right there and that we're going to be there for a while. And so that to me just really stands out as a really important moment.
Matt, your moment and goal of 2023. I hate putting you on the spot.
Do you even need to ask, Jonathan?
Is it Reiss Nelson?
Well, listen, obviously it is. You know, we spoke about this on previous podcasts, and like I said on the last one with Eamon, it's my favourite moment of the Emirates era, you know? Yeah. I don't know why, you know, but a lot of people will say the same to you who were there. It was just incredible. The atmosphere in the stadium, I've never seen an atmosphere like it when that goal went in. You know, you literally thought the stadium was going to explode. It was just unbelievable. And yeah, it's my favorite moment. Reiss Nelson will forever be, a hero to me for that moment, and like I say, it was against Bournemouth. We were losing 2-0 to Bournemouth. You know what I mean? So, but that's what it meant. And I absolutely, yes, it was my favourite moment, no doubt. But I agree with Eric on this. That Martinelli goal against City, I was also there at that game. And when, there's such a statement to beat Man City that day, the way we played against them, City are a horrible team to play because they're so damn good, and we set up brilliantly that day. We set up absolutely brilliantly. We gave them nothing. We gave them absolutely nothing. Saliba had Haaland in his pocket. It was just beautiful. When you get a result like that against the champions, it really was a statement. I know we beat them in the Community Shield at the start of the season as well, but to beat them in a league game like that and just let them know that we've arrived was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I'm going to give that to Martinelli for that reason. There's a lot of very good goals. There's a lot of very good moments, but for me, Reece Nelson and Martinelli as well.
I think if I was going for a moment myself, lads, it would probably have to be the signing of Declan Rice. To sign him, to get that signing over the line.
Yeah,
it was a statement of intent, I think, from Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, totally fair.
Yeah.
I think as well, probably the goal for me, it would probably be this. Reece Nelson is a great show, but Eddie Nketiah's goal in the very last minute to win 3-2 against United, which was at the start of the year, but I think it was, to give it to anyone, was Declan Rice against Man United to get his first goal. And the way he celebrated was the fans. They've taken to him so well, and you can only see a bright future for Declan Rice for definitely the next few years. So I think the moment was when he was unveiled. I think it was the 15th of July, which was on my birthday, and it was great. It made my day. And
hang on, we just make a note of your birthday just for next year.
July the 15th.
But I think I think it's important that we remember too, like, how far this team has come.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now we have all of these great moments to even talk about. If we were doing this podcast 5 years ago, what would we be talking about? And I think that it's like the club and the team has come so far since Arteta took over.
Yeah.
And you can just see the progress, and it's just been incredible to watch. And not many clubs in the world get to get something like that. And we have a chance in the hardest league in the world to win, against a super club, a phenomenal team and manager that Liverpool has. I mean, to get from where we were when Arteta took over to now is just incredible, and it's brought all of these great moments with it. And so I think that's like, you're lucky to have all the choices. And I think that there's a lot to be said for kind of the direction that the club is going in.
Yeah, a lot has to be a lot of credit has to go to Edu as well. He really there's actually a plan in place now that's working, and it's brought a whole new era of Arsenal fans as well. It's great to see, and the Ashbourne boys as well has added, as we said, another element to the match day atmosphere at the Emirates. As we said at the start of the show, we don't follow the Arsenal, we care about them.
There you go.
Is there anything else, lads, you'd like to mention before we wrap up our final podcast of the year?
No, I think we're good, Jonathan. I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, our newest Irish citizen there, Eric. Great way to end the year, and congrats again.
Yeah. Thanks.
He's wearing the green of Ireland there in the away kit. No, I'd just like to thank all our listeners and viewers for constantly watching week on week, whether it's tripe or not. It's much appreciated. We're heading into will be our third year now of doing the podcast in 2024, so it's onwards and upwards. Consistency is key. So like, subscribe and comment if you can, lads. If you'd like to add anything in the comment box below the video, of if you'd like to see anything added to our show, what we can add or what you like or dislike, please please mention. Any feedback is welcome. But I'd just like to wish all our listeners and viewers Happy New Year. And we'll see you on New Year's Day for the review of hopefully a victory at Craven Cottage. So until then, thanks for listening and Happy New Year, lads.
Happy New Year, lads. Take it easy.
Thanks, Eric.
Cheers.